welcome to another episode of Fan vs. Fan. We're talking Game of Thrones Season 5, Episode 6. I'm Elena Lowe.
And I'm Peter Counter.
Let's get started.
Is the girl ready to give up her hopes and dreams, her loves and hates, forever?
A Lannister and a Myrcella. I have no idea how dangerous that is.
She wants to drag our name through the dirt.
If war comes to Westeros, will the Knights of the Vale fight for their king?
Your Grace, I live to serve.
In King's Landing, the Faith Militant decided to go judge Judy on the Tyrells.
In Slaver's Bay, Tyrion saves his own life by bragging about his dick.
At the House of Black and White, Arya finally took a stance on euthanasia.
And in Winterfell, Sansa...
And now it's a portion of the show we like to call Dragon Eggs. So this is where we review characters and plot devices that you may have forgotten about. So first up is Myrcella. So the character Myrcella is Cersei and Jaime's daughter, and she's actually been recast here. So you may have remembered the character being portrayed by the actress Amy Richardson. She was actually aged up for the role, and she's now being played by Nell Tigerfree. This is likely because the show is trying to bring out the romance aspect of the character's background that we saw actually in this episode in particular. So it's way less icky now that the character is older.
Second dragon egg this week, Jeor Mormont finally finds out what happened to his father. For those of you who never made the connection, Jorah's dad was the former commander of the Night's Watch, and he died last season in a fight at Craster's Keep.
Okay, so now we're on to pros. So overall, I thought this was a decent episode. I thought we had a lot of plot development in certain storylines, but we also got to see some action. So what did you think of the episode overall, Peter?
Well, I really liked being able to check in with all of these plot lines that were left hanging from the previous week. We only got 4 plot lines last week. We got to catch up with all of what I think are, with the exception of the Wall, the most interesting plots.
100%. I think these are a lot of fan favorite characters, and it was so nice to see them all bundled up in one episode.
Definitely. And not to mention, super huge events happen.
Yeah.
I really loved all of the forward momentum happening in the House of Black and White. It was so cool to see the face library reveal. We've been waiting along with Arya to finally see how things are going to progress to her becoming some super death assassin.
I really like that. Death assassin. Not just any assassin, a really,
exactly.
really death
one. Redefining death for the rest of the world of Game of Thrones.
And I think, too, my favorite bit is that it's such a difficult concept to actually translate visually. Of the fact that, okay, we have literally a library of faces, and now you get to see the range of characters that these assassins can actually take on. So that was really interesting.
Yeah, and I'm additionally very excited to see how the face changing starts to happen with that.
Is it going to be a recreation of Face Off? Is Nick Cage going to make an appearance in Game of Thrones? These are questions the fans want to know desperately.
Alternately, it could be a Mission Impossible scenario. Who knows?
I know.
Very exciting. What did you like about this episode?
Well, there were 2 main things that I really enjoyed. And the first one was the fact that because now so many people have actually died off, we're getting to see a lot of characters interact with one another that had no reason at certain points to really be together. So now we see Olenna and Cersei having this really intense discussion, and they're throwing threats at one another. And it was so fascinating to see, because before we saw Olenna and Tywin. So that was the main battle of wits there. So it was great to see that new interaction. I really loved Tyrion and Jorah and seeing their friendship form anew. And I also really enjoyed, I know that she's terrible, but I really liked Sansa and Miranda. I thought that was a really great way for Sansa to grow into being a more powerful character that really learns how to play the game and toying with this seemingly very threatening person and
Yeah.
kind of swatting her. So I thought that was really great to see those new bonds form between characters.
Yeah, I really, really loved Cersei and Baelish getting
That
to
was really
finally
great,
have
yeah.
a real face-to-face conversation where he's like, again, like, he says, like, chaos is a ladder, but man, he's climbing that ladder with such speed.
I know.
And part of me loves it, but another part of me
Are you worried for
doesn't
Sansa
love
at
it.
this point?
Well, I don't. I'm starting to feel like I think everybody else must feel about Baelish, where it's like, oh man, I can't trust him. Now he's dealing with stuff that I care about, which is the North, and I just can't handle the idea of Lannister gold being all over Winterfell. That's not a Winterfell I want to live.
I love the 5 seasons in. Now you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't trust him. Maybe he seems like a bad guy. I love that it's taken this long because you love the character so
He's
much.
great. He's so great.
I did warn you not to trust me.
And another thing that I really enjoyed about this episode is how it was actually really restrained with the sexual violence that it actually showed. Because last season we saw the scenes in Craster's Keep. We saw that so many women were getting violated, and that was really all for the purpose of showing how horrible those men of the Night's Watch were. Yeah. And it was completely unnecessary to me and to a lot of viewers out there. It was not only distasteful, and it was not only distasteful, but it was also just way too excessive. It was unnecessary in the storytelling.
It was exploitative.
Yeah, and here we saw them actually be very restrained, and they kind of employed a lot of horror movie tactics by actually not showing the horrible thing, but showing it through different subtle ways by actually using Theon's face.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really great.
It was really cool. And it's so unusual for Game of Thrones to actually show this kind of restraint. It kind of makes you wonder if maybe if it weren't a character that we've seen grow up on the show, that it might have actually been a little bit more harsh.
That's very true. That's very true. We've seen the character grow up from a child, so maybe that's part of the reason they didn't want it to be extra exploitative.
It would be so upsetting to see the
horrifying.
details that Theon's seen.
Yeah.
He's been through so much to see like what could possibly horrify that man anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
What happened off screen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now we're on to our cons. Dorne. God damn it. I was so upset by this because we've spent so many episodes building up to these like badass lady assassins with their, unfortunate nipple plate armor. But, like their whips and their machetes, and I wanted a really awesome battle between them and Jaime and Bronn, who we know are amazing warriors.
Stumps and Grumps is going through a real mid-season slump right now. It's terrible. Like it even kind of started off kind of cool. Like
they're in their new outfits.
In disguise, going undercover, and then it's 2 established badasses with 3 semi-established badasses, and boring.
It was just I don't understand how it's possible to create a boring action sequence that involves those characters.
Yeah.
Because on paper, they're all awesome. Like, we have Jaime, Bronn, and again, 3 amazing lady assassins. How do you make that boring?
It could be some sort of... It could be a case of just, like, we have such high expectations and wants. Like, we really want to see both sides kind of win. On one hand, Jaime and Bronn are super cool. On the other hand, everyone loved Oberyn, and we really want redemption.
Vengeance, yeah. But I think it's the way the scene was laid out. You first started off with this kind of CW romance with Myrcella, which where did that come from?
I'd watch it though.
And after that, somehow Jaime and Bronn very easily got into the courtyard where the prince and the princess were.
And then all of the guards, they all came back from like their coffee breaks at the same time, and we're like, what?
Coordinate, guys. Don't go all at the same time.
Use the schedule.
It made no sense. It made no sense. And then once the battle actually got started, it ended so abruptly. It was just, it was such a letdown. I was really upset by it.
Yeah, Dorne.
Ugh. Okay, so now we're about 6 episodes in, so let's talk a little bit about what we think is working, what we think is not working.
Right.
Yeah. So on my end, one of the storylines that I'm having a bit of trouble with is actually Cersei. Because,
I agree.
now that Tywin's gone, I really wanted that storyline to still be a really interesting focus with a lot of, like, political machinations.
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit annoyed by the fact that, like, Cersei's storyline, and the way that it's being directed, and the way her actions are being carried out, it doesn't really seem like she's a true focal point. We've seen in some episodes her storyline escalate really quickly in a way that's really jarring. And then, something about that storyline just doesn't really draw me in as much as it has in previous seasons. So King's Landing is no longer one that I'm as invested in.
Yeah, there's like a little bit of adjustment that has to happen on our end of things, where it's like King's Landing has been our home for much of this show, and now it's like there's nobody there, really, that is of major consequence. I mean, like, you and I both love the Tyrells. We don't want things to happen to them.
Yeah.
But, there's that aspect. And, again, Cersei, it's just, like, it's not clear if she thinks she's winning. She always, like, I don't know, there's a veil. I hope there's a big reveal.
Yeah.
And I can be wrong about it all.
I think my main issue, though, is that in the past, those storylines have been so focused on the people in King's Landing planning and trying to figure out what is happening outside in the entire kingdom. And now the drama has really been brought down to a really personal level. So I don't know if it's being portrayed as well as it could be, especially with a fantastic character like Cersei.
This season, I'm really, really loving, as I've said before, everything that's happening in Winterfell and at the Wall. It feels like as you go north, my interest level starts going.
What's the scale?
High.
So King's Landing sounds
Landing
like it's at the bottom
is the base level. Mm-hmm. Dorne is down here.
Oh, really?
Well,
okay. I think Dorne has a lot of potential. On paper, Dorne has a lot of potential.
I agree. Yes.
I want it to be super good.
I want Dorne to be up here, but like in the geography of my interest, it's just south. Okay. So we've got that King's Landing. Then we go to Winterfell. Oh, very interested. Definitely watching all this Bolton stuff. Go to the Wall. Jon Snow he's the Lord Commander of my heart. And I would really, really, really love to see more of the Man in the Tree. I know that's not a popular opinion.
You mean
the Man in the Tree with Bran?
Oh, okay. Okay, I hate to break it to you, but literally no one gives a shit about Bran.
Oh, yeah, except for me. Bran, if you're watching this,
and
of you.
And if you're out there and you really love Bran, please tell us. I want to know who you are.
If you're one of the few people out there on the internet that agree with me, join me in my daily hashtag protest at hashtag bring back Bran.
Alliteration. Well done. Well, that's it for us at Fan vs. Fan, where we talked Game of Thrones Season 5, Episode 6. Now that the episode is over, what you can do is actually subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And follow us on Twitter at Dorkshelf.
And another thing that you can do is watch our Fan vs. Fan series for The Flash. Those guys have been doing it for 22 episodes, which is the entire season of The Flash. So if you want to get the scoop and hear about Easter eggs from that show, go check that out.
If you have anything to say about either of the shows, let us know in the comments or tweet at us with the hashtag FanVFan.
We'd love to hear what you have to say, so we'll see you next week.
Kicked him out.